We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. A playground for some. For others, it's where they make their living. But the sea's unpredictable.
The sea is a scary place. It's an unforgiving place.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of over 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, and race to our rescue.
When that pager goes off, it's like that.
There they are! There they are!
You are somebody's last hope.
He's gone under!
I have never felt so much admiration. Marvel heroes don't come anywhere near.
Equipped with their own cameras.
Am I recording?
Yep. The crews give us a unique insight into every call-out, as only they see it.
Gonna get you home, all right?
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
There's no better feeling than knowing that you've brought someone's loved one home safely.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Hold on!
On Ireland's southeast coast, perched on the western edge of Waterford Harbour, is the historic and popular fishing village of Dunmore East.
Dunmore East is known for its fishing. Going back years, there was a big herring fleet here. It is a fishing village, a very busy fishing port here.
Also, we have the shipping up to the city here through Waterford Harbour is very, very busy as well. A big area for the cruise liners as well. We've maybe 40 or 50 of them come into Dunmore East every year.
Yeah, I would say Dunmore is known for its tourism now, and it's just kind of a nice old place to come down to.
The coastline along here, it's we have a bit of everything. We have cliffs, sandy beaches. On a nice summer's day, the beaches are full, water's flat calm, real nice seaside resort.
It's absolutely beautiful, and when the sun is setting, very picturesque.
But when summer fades and cold winter winds drive the crowds from the beaches, Dunmore East becomes a very different place.
We look out to the Irish Sea, and when the weather gets bad, especially in southerlies, we can get hit by some serious storms around here.
Yeah, on a bad day, it'll let you know you're alive. I mean, certainly the sea will batter the place here. The waves and stuff come in on the beaches. It can be a very nasty place.
One of the most notorious spots on the Dunmore Patch is Hook Head, home to the Hook Lighthouse, one of the oldest working lighthouses in the world.
The area around Hook Head, it's known as the graveyard of 1,000 ships, and you know, you don't get a reputation like that lightly. It's taken many ships and souls over the years. There's a shelf just off the hook there, which rises up, and the sea actually gets very turbulent out there, you know. So yeah, there's been a lot of tragedy over the years.
The lighthouse has stood on Hook Head since the 12th century, whereas the lifeboat station has only watched over these waters since 1884.
We have a Trent class in our station. It's a brilliant boat. It's very good at towing, which is the main thing that we do, especially we're in a fishing village.
You never know what you're going to get here. It could be for a commercial fishing vessel, it could be for a pleasure craft, someone on the cliff walk. We don't really have trends here, it could be anything.
Late October, mid-afternoon, gale force winds howling across the harbour and into the Irish Sea.
We were just on the tail end of a storm. That day, I was sitting up just watching the waves, and I said to myself, it'd be an awful day to go out in a shout today, and I jinxed it myself, so I'll take the blame on that one.
A mayday has come in from the Lily Bee, a cargo vessel that has lost all power 2 nautical miles south of Hook Head with 9 crew on board.
It was a real case of wrong place, wrong time. So potentially, I was worried that this is going to be another shipwreck on Hook Head.
With no power, the ship, heavily loaded with coal and diesel, is being driven by the wind and weather towards the infamous rocks.
Felt like a race against time to get out there. just knowing the weather and how fast it can push things up onto the rocks.
They all knew that time is of the essence here.
With Roy at the helm, they launch the all-weather lifeboat and head out towards the ship's position, 5 nautical miles from the station.
Previous to the shout that we were on, I'd only been on 2. I was very nervous with the weather.
You go around that breakwater and then all hell breaks loose.
I remember going into a dip of a wave and all you could see in front of you was another wave coming. So it was a crazy feeling to be out in weather that big.
The 6-meter swells and gale force 8 to 9 winds slow their progress, reducing their usual top speed of 25 knots to around 13.
On a fine day, it would probably take us 7 or 8 minutes to get across there. This day, I think it took about 20, 25 minutes maybe.
As the crew battle their way to location, the Kilmore Quay and Rosslare lifeboats are also launched, along with a salvage tug and a Coast Guard rescue helicopter, which arrives overhead just as the Dunmore East lifeboat arrives at location.
When you come on scene and you see the size of the ship is 100 metres long. Our lifeboat is 14 metres long. So to be fair, we're pretty small next to a big ship like that. And we see the effects of the sea on that ship.
With no power, the ship is unable to steer, so is at the mercy of the sea and weather.
Big wave came up beside her and lifted her to in and around 10 metres of us. And you can't explain that to anyone, the feeling of just how effortlessly that the sea can pick something up like that.
Neville calculates that at her current rate of drift, the Lily B will be on the rocks at Hook Head in about 20 minutes. However, the rescue tug is not due to arrive for another 2 hours.
Big wind with tide now, short. It's windy against tide at the moment. We're just changing. You don't have to be a mathematician to work out by the time the tug gets here, this boat is going to be on the rocks.
The crew's only hope of saving the Lily B is to try and establish a tow line and hold her in position until the rescue tug arrives.
I had serious doubts on how we're actually going to achieve this. You know, first of all, how do we get close enough to actually get the line on? I suppose that's one problem, and the second problem is how are we actually going to tow it? This is a massive, massive ship being thrown around the sea, and we're in a little lifeboat, we're going to try and tow it. It's a humongous task. But, you know, you've 9 lives on board that ship, 3,000 tons of coal, a massive amount of diesel, again, environmental issues as well on top of everything else.
We weren't 100% sure if we could do it, but we were going to give it 100% effort.
If it misses, whoever's holding the end will haul it back in as quick as possible.
Roy attempts to contact the captain of the Lily B to inform them of the plan and make sure they're ready to do their part.
We had to contact the vessel's captain, and ask him to get a crew up on his forward deck, up on the forcicle part, which, to be honest, it's a dangerous part of their deck, especially in that seas. I mean, the whole deck was awash. So he was very hesitant to get his crew up there as well, which I really don't blame him. But at the same time, we needed someone to take the rope on the bow of his ship, and that's the communication we had to get across.
With the Lily B now a little over a mile away from Hook Head, the Kilmore Quay lifeboat also arrives on scene.
The big one coming out.
We were asked to take the tow first, as we were the most powerful of the boats that was there at the time. The Kilmore Quay Lifeboat is a Tamar, a fairly new type boat, just over 2,000 horsepower in her, so.
Watch it now, Trev.
We got as close as you could get without getting drove in and hit the ship, you know.
The crew of the Kilmore Quay lifeboat managed to throw a heaving line across. But the crew of the Lily B are unable to haul it in.
The lines kept slipping off the deck. Very, very frustrating.
For the crew on board with the sea breaking over it, and then to work on, you know, with her rolling so much and trying to, even catching the line, trying to pull the line in, that was all very hard on them, very hard on them.
There you go.
Everybody knows in the back of their mind that you're on the clock. Time is against you. That boat is drifting towards the rocks.
The Kilmore Quay crew finally managed to get a rope across, and the Dunmore East lifeboat moves in to try and secure a second.
You'd turn around and you'd be looking back and you could see the hook head, and you'd be realising that, oh, hold on, we're getting a bit close now. We need to start worrying about this.
I'm setting it up.
With no time left to get close enough for a heaving line, they break out a rocket line instead.
Our rocket line is basically a rocket in the centre of a canister, and there's 230 metres of line in it, light line. And if you cannot get close enough to a casualty, whether it be like that, a ship or in on the shore, you fire this rocket in, and whoever's on the other end pulls it in.
With the rocks at Hook Head now less than a mile away, the crew know they only have one chance at this.
Landed perfectly. It was probably 10-20 seconds before one of the crew members from the ship started to haul it in when they could.
But even with 2 tow lines now secured, the Lily B is not yet out of danger.
Towing a vessel that size with our lifeboat, first of all, really showed the power of the sea. You could see the swell passing off, hitting the bow of the ship, and it was just catching us and pulling us back.
There was a moment in time, I personally wondered whether we'd be able to actually do anything with the ship.
The line, our tow line, started creaking, and all you were doing was hoping that it wouldn't break on us.
As both the Dunmore East and Kilmore Quay lifeboats apply full power to try and turn the ship, the Ross Lair lifeboat also arrives and stands off, ready to assist if necessary.
The fear was there that at any time one or both of these lines could part, so we were there standing by at the ready to go in case one or both broke. So
First 10-15 minutes that we were under tow, there was huge stress on the back, and I didn't know how we were holding the pressure that it was holding.
You know, towing a vessel that size, progress is very slow. It's very hard to steer the lifeboat with so much weight on it. Like, it's a very long time before you see any progress at all.
The helicopter was giving advice all the time as well, because they had a great view of the bird's eye view to say. So everybody was talking to everybody, and that makes it. Communication is key. I remember a moment where I went down below onto the plotter and I plotted our position and calculated where we were. And I actually at that point realised we were actually making way. We were doing 1.4 knots. So it was like a moment of realisation to actually say, we're actually towing this ship. I felt like doing a jig on the deck, to be quite honest. You know, it was like, yes, We're managing this.
The Dunmore East and Kilmore Quay lifeboats managed to tow the Lily Bee away from the rocks for almost 2 hours until the rescue tug arrives to take over. Then together they steer the ship through the night to the shelter of Waterford Harbour.
It wasn't until we had the vessel back in Waterford Estuary and she actually dropped her anchor then we could actually relax.
In total, we were out for 12 hours at sea. 12 hours was by far the longest I've ever been out at sea.
As well as saving the ship, its cargo and potentially the ecology of the region, the 3 lifeboats also saved the lives of 9 crew members.
I do, hand on my heart, think that we saved their lives that day. Absolutely, yeah. And that doesn't happen too often.
It's an honour and a privilege to save a life, and a coordinated rescue like that, you get a great sense of satisfaction at the end of it that all went well.
And a shout as big as that, it just shows how important teamwork is out there. Everyone needs to know what they're doing, and everyone needs to know how to do their job.
Multi-boat, multi-agency shouts like these can only ever work with one crucial element in play.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hands clear, everyone.
Teamwork is absolutely essential. You couldn't do the job without it.
When you step on the boat, there's a sense of coming together. You're acting as one.
Got you.
If you can't rely on your team to be there and to step up and to know what they're doing, it can be a really dangerous place to be.
The biggest thing is that you just know people have got your back. I know that I've got people I can trust with my life.
It's not just about being a team, it's about being a family.
OK, you're all right.
I think when you've helped someone, all the effort and the time you've put in to training and being part of the team, it is a great feeling between us all.
Good boy, come on.
I can't play football, I'm useless at football and I'm useless at rugby, and this is the only team sport I could do.
You in charge, Imogen? You right, dude?
The bond between the crew is incredible. It's unbelievable to know that you're part of something much bigger than yourself.
On the northwest coast of England, perched on the tip of the Wirral Peninsula, is the historic Victorian seaside resort of Hoylake.
Hoylake, the town, we're surrounded by water on 3 sides of us, so it's fantastic for kiteboarding and sand yachting and that sort of stuff.
We've got a lovely expanse of beach, which is quite popular in the summer, especially for walkers.
The beach here, stretching for over a mile and covering an area of approximately 50 acres, has drawn people here for hundreds of years. But centuries of visitors has also meant centuries of people getting into trouble.
The lifeboat station at Hoylake was founded over 200 years ago, and lifeboats were launched by horse and cart. The lifeboats used to have sails and oars when they were, real lifeboat men. Not like today where we just push a button and off we go.
Today, as well as an all-weather Shannon class, the Hoylake crew have a state-of-the-art H-class rescue hovercraft, helping them respond to around 40 shouts each year.
The hovercraft allows us to get into areas that a boat or a lifeboat can't get into. Isolated areas, sandbanks, stuff like that.
The coastline around here is very sandy, but it's also quite muddy in certain areas, and the majority of our jobs on the hovercraft are for mud rescues. People get caught out.
The way the tide comes in, it doesn't come in straight as a huge body of water. It finds the gutters, it just comes around. And people think, oh, I can just walk over there. They could be caught out very easily.
Early February, and after a week of rain, the clouds have finally cleared over Hoylake.
It was a lovely morning, the sun was out, a little bit of a chill in the air, the tide was rising. Perfect day to go for a nice stroll on the beach.
Pager went, I was at station anyway, started to get the hovercraft ready. Then there was a phone call from the Coast Guard to say that 2 people were stuck in the mud around Thurston area, which is, by the time we've launched, 10 minutes away.
It was a mother and daughter, tide was coming in. We knew we had to make best speed to get ourselves over there.
Every second does count in a situation like this.
Definitely the clock was ticking, yeah.
A huge concern is the tide coming in around them and then drowning.
But even with the tide coming in and the clock ticking, the crew have to first focus on the delicate task of launching the hovercraft.
We've got to blow the hovercraft up, we've got to blow the sponsons up. If that's not done properly, you won't get the correct lift, you won't get the correct surface area. So as much as it's important to get there, it's so important to prep first.
We all work as a team and you know, the task at hand that needs to be dealt with. Everyone locally here, we all work as one.
It takes the hovercraft 25 minutes to launch and reach location. But as this rescue is land-based, the RNLI are not the only ones attending.
The Coast Guard had been tasked and also the fire brigade had been tasked. So we knew there was going to be a good team to work with. But we could see that it was a significant landslide. There were huge mud clumps and you could see that it was unstable.
We found it quite difficult ourselves to find somewhere to land and sort of get close to them.
You come with me, you stay with them.
Yeah, sound, yeah. There were 2 fire rescue officers with the casualties, 2 casualties about 8 metres apart. The rule is above the tide line is the fire brigade, below the tide line is the Coast Guard. For us, the job just needs to get done.
The crew go to assist the 2 firefighters already digging the casualties free from the mud.
As soon as we arrived on scene and we got out, we were starting to sink ourselves. So we immediately got the equipment out so we could have a platform. It's all about spreading your weight. The mother was stuck up to her knees. We immediately went alongside her, we put a platform out and we just dig.
Got another shovel?
Yeah. We do have shovels, but with the suction of a shovel, it's not easy. So yeah, a lot of it is just hands, get in, reassure the casualty, and just start digging around them.
The cliffside itself where we were working, obviously that bit's just fallen a couple of days before, and there were other bits that were quite precarious looking up, and in the back of my mind I wanted to get the 2 casualties out as quickly as possible and get out of that area because there was potential for other parts of the cliff to fall.
With 4 people now digging, it still takes the crew 5 minutes to free the first of the 2 casualties.
Nice and gently, guys.
We got the mother out first.
Can we just take a moment, please? Yeah. Can we do it nice and gently?
We take the hovercraft apart to be able to use everything as platforms around.
Put it onto that brick if you can, mate.
Yeah, 1 second. We used the seat of the hovercraft as a ramp and brought her on board. We've got you there anyway, don't worry.
Yeah,
you can stand up if you want.
Seems a bit wobbly, to be honest.
Don't worry.
Okay, nice and gently. How are you?
If you want.
That's it. Grab on with your hands. There's a big metal frame here.
She had a big coat on, but she was pretty cold. I say it was February, there was a nip in the air, there really was. Right, do you want to put this around you? I got a blanket for her, popped it around to make sure she wasn't too cold. I need to keep you a little bit warm. And then I did casualty care on her, made sure, did a bit of a quick assessment to make sure she was fine. How you feeling now, okay?
I'm not surprised.
You sure?
Yeah, this bit actually got hurt.
The mother was quite calm. The daughter herself was starting to panic a little bit because it was taking obviously quite a bit of time to get her out the mud. The compression of the clay around her welly was kind of locking her foot in the welly, and she had one leg out and she was on a bit of a funny angle, so she couldn't push herself out. So eventually just had to slowly work her foot out of the welly by digging round the welly and freeing off the pressure that the clay was putting on the welly, yeah.
It takes a further 27 minutes, with 4 people digging in shifts, to finally free the second casualty.
When her foot come out, it was a big relief. Got her then onto the stretcher, which made it easier getting her down, because she was quite tired and she was upset, obviously, and scared.
The cold is a big concern, and also the pressure on the limbs.
You what? You any injuries at all? Nah, just my leg hurts, but I think that's just because it's been trapped.
We were concerned if she had broken or sprained her ankle.
So it was important that we had her lay down and we monitored her and then obviously kept her warm until we got her to the ambulance.
We flew to the slipway at D Sailing Club, a couple of 100 yards down from where they were stuck.
Ready? Okay, ready, brace, move.
We lifted her off and then to the paramedics, which then put her into their care.
Charlie, you're doing amazingly well done.
You okay, yeah?
Yeah. Give a little hand over to these guys.
Bunter and Charlie had set off earlier to take their new puppy, Horace, for a short walk.
So we were walking, had a lovely time. It was so sunny and just a really nice kind of crisp day. And then we turned back because the puppy, he'd done his 25-minute walk. And we had seen there had been a mudslide coming from kind of a bit further down towards where we parked the car.
It was clear that the ground underneath where we were going to have to walk was a bit muddy. And Charlie said, oh, I don't think I want to do that. There's some drier mud here. And she walked on some stepping stones in the mud, just a few feet from us. But on about the 5th stone, it just disappeared, and so did she. The mud just went over her knees. She was trying to dig herself out, but she was sinking further and further, and it was frightening.
I did scream, Mum, I think I'm in a bit of a sticky wicket, so to speak.
So, even though she's in her 30s, a mummy's always a mummy, and I went and tried to get to help her, but of course, 2 or 3 strides, it went right up over my boots as well. I've never experienced mud like it. It was just so thick and clinging and sort of oozing almost. It was like liquid, I imagine liquid concrete to be. I did hear myself shout to her quite early on, we're going to need some help, Charlie, we're not going to get out of this on our own. We're definitely going to have to find some help. And she said, well, can you call them quickly?
Within around 10 minutes of raising the alarm, the fire brigade was on scene, with the RNLI arriving soon afterwards.
Being rescued is the most ridiculous sense of relief. You can just see those orange colours coming towards you, and you just know that you're in safe hands.
In total, over 30 members from 4 different branches of the rescue services directly helped with this rescue.
But they did the right thing. They called 999, ambulance, fire brigade, lifeboat and Coast Guard were all tasked. And we all worked together to be able to extract them. If the tide was a little bit higher or the wind was a little bit stronger and they were a little bit further down, it could have been catastrophic for them.
That's one of us doing. I tell you what, that there is horrible. It is, yeah. And to be fair,
We were all caked head to toe, about I think an inch thick in mud.
Oh, it was horrific. We were so muddy. The fire brigade very kindly gave us a wash down, as it could well be the muddiest job that we've ever been involved in.
I think 2 or 3 days afterwards, we were still finding mud on the hovercraft.
"65 miles west of Hoylake, where the Lynn Peninsula reaches out into the Irish Sea, is the small coastal village of Porthdin Clyne, which has been part of the National Trust since 1994.
It's a very old seaside or harbour village, a fisherman's village. It's very picturesque. It's very popular in the summer months. It's also got a large fishing community as well here. There's quite a few fishing boats that go out on a daily basis all year round. But also during the summer months we have the tourist traffic as well in terms of visiting yachts, powerboats, all sorts who come and visit the area.
It's part of the area of outstanding natural beauty. We've got sandy beaches. The coastal path is very popular.
As well as its long history of fishing and other maritime traffic, Porthincline also has an equally long tradition of lifeboating.
So there's been a life station at Porthincline since 1864, and it's always been at the same location.
It's just a part of our history and a part of our culture, really, here.
30 crew, I think, all bar 2 are Welsh-speaking. Usually we run the boat, we'll run the training in Welsh, and it's something we're very proud and passionate about. We exercise once a week, so we see plenty of each other, but also the bond needs to be strong for when we do go out on a shout.
August bank holiday weekend. Calm conditions, sun still way below the horizon.
The pager went off just before 5 a.m. that Sunday morning in late August, and I was in a really deep sleep.
And then you go into, like, your adrenaline starts pumping, and that's when you go, right, I need to get changed now.
The Coast Guard has received a mayday call from a yacht 5 miles out in the Irish Sea, requesting an immediate medical evacuation.
Every call is emergency, but when it's a medivac, you know you need to get there as soon as you can.
More information comes over the radio as the crew carry out an immediate launch, revealing that the yacht has a crew of 2, a father and daughter, and that the father has suffered a suspected stroke.
Our immediate concerns was how bad he was, really. We just didn't know what to expect.
I was worried for the casualty. You know, a stroke can have life-changing effects.
The first thing, obviously, in my mind, really, is to get out there as quickly as possible and get him as fast as we can to the hospital.
The crew radio Holyhead Coast Guard as they launch and are told that a helicopter has also been scrambled.
Because it was a suspected stroke, you have the golden hour, and then, you know, the quicker that you can get them to specialist medical care, the better.
Though the inbound helicopter will be the quickest way to transfer the casualty to hospital, it will still need the lifeboat on location to help facilitate the airlift.
The sense of urgency was certainly to be felt in that boat. 5 miles is nothing, really, but even so, that 5 miles felt long that night.
It takes the crew 15 minutes to reach location, and as they make their final approach to the 36-foot yacht, they establish radio contact.
Thank you very much. Would you like to do anything? Remain calm. I was quite relieved that we'd finally arrived, but also quite anxious, really, just to see the gentleman, just to see the casualty and get to him as soon as we could.
They get oxygen. So fel nawn ni dros the assessif o fe.
Yeah.
A wedyn, os ti'n gallu cerdded, o'n ni efo fama, mor sydyn allan ni, geith helicopter mynd am.
Both myself and Owain, who are going to go on board the yacht to attend to the casualty.
Lle ti isio ni gamu, Rob?
We'd been trained in knowing what to do with somebody with a suspected stroke.
Gwycha.
Sorry.
Okay.
Very grateful to see you.
Yeah, no problem, come in.
There was a young lady there, the daughter of the casualty. She was quite emotional, to say the truth.
It's just the two of you on board.
Sorry,
Okay.
I've been trying to do that.
Yeah, it's no problem at all.
The young woman, Morgan, leads the crew below deck, where her father has been taken ill.
And you can walk. Excellent. You're doing fantastic.
Hiya, I'm Owen, how are you doing?
Can you raise your hands?
Only the one, not the other side. Okay.
Okay, that's very well. That's very well. Excellent. I could see straight away that he'd suffered a stroke. His face was drooping to one side. He could lift one arm a little bit, but the other arm was, well, he couldn't lift that one at all. And of course, he couldn't speak properly at all. His speech was very slurry at the time. I think the best thing is to try and get you from the cabin here, to be honest with you. Are you feeling sick at all? A little bit sick, yeah? Okay.
Though they need to get the casualty to hospital as fast as possible, Mally and Owain first need to carefully move him out of the cabin and onto the upper deck of the yacht.
No, absolutely no rush at all. Small steps were taken, little by little, step by step.
Yeah.
There we go, sir. Take your time now. It certainly was quite testing. The adrenaline's going, you know, you have somebody's life physically in your hands.
Get you an ETA on the helicopter. We'll transfer you one small step over, and then we'll get you into the care of the helicopter.
This man's going to stay with me, Dad, so we'll be safe.
The main thing that we were trying to do was just to reassure them that the helicopter was on the way.
I just give you some oxygen there.
Well done, Dad.
They've got specially trained paramedics on board. Hospital is only 15 minutes away then. Her father would be in the best possible hands.
With the helicopter's arrival now imminent, the crew need to transfer the casualty to the lifeboat ready for the airlift.
Whenever you're ready now, we'll bring both boats together and we'll get you to step over.
But stroke victims often experience loss of balance and coordination, so getting the casualty across to the lifeboat carries added danger.
It can be risky, obviously, when you're coming alongside any boat. We made sure that the lifeboat was lashed together quite well, and we were quite safe.
So the helicopter's 3 minutes away, so if we can get you over now. So Mally, if you can take behind him and try and lift him up to here, we'll get him up then.
Just hold it slowly.
Okay, let's take our time, plenty of time. Okay, just watch the step.
Hang on a minute.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Brilliant.
Owain stays behind on the yacht to help Morgan sail it back to Porthdin Cline.
Okay, breathe.
While the lifeboat moves away and picks up speed ready for the airlift that will take her father to hospital.
So what they'll do now, they'll just put a bit of speed on so the helicopter can hover above and they'll hoist him up.
Thank you.
It's no problem at all. We'll get you there as soon as we can.
I think in this shout that was probably the most emotional part for the casualty's daughter. She had no control then.
Owain and Morgan watch on as the lifeboat moves away in order to perform the airlift.
Wow, it's amazing.
It's no problem. But they're all trained paramedics in there, so he'll be fine.
The winchman came down, and it just all happened so quick then. Up he went and off. They were gone straight away.
Once the casualty is safely on board the helicopter, they take him directly to Bangor Hospital, just a 15-minute flight away. A dramatic end to a family sailing trip.
Dad absolutely loves sailing. It's been such a big part of his life growing up and something that he's really shared with me. So this was quite a special trip for me, getting to join him and spend that time together.
Morgan and her father, Pat, were sailing back from a 2-week trip from Guernsey up to the west coast of Scotland. On their return journey, they sailed through the night, planning to stop off in North Wales.
Dad and I were probably about halfway across the Irish Sea, and we agreed that I would go down to get some sleep and that he would wake me up when we reached near Bardsey Island.
But at 4 in the morning, everything changed.
I got woken up by Dad shouting on me. He said my name, and so I woke up, and he didn't say much more but seemed to be in a little bit of a panic. He seemed really confused. I've never seen Dad that confused before. And he couldn't lift his legs up. His speech was slurred, and I could start to notice that one side of his face wasn't moving as much as the other side of his face. And so I started thinking, actually, this is a stroke.
Knowing speed was essential when treating a stroke, Morgan sent out a mayday and waited for help to arrive.
I felt very lonely when I was waiting for the lifeboat to come. The one person that I had sailing with me was now not able to communicate and be that reassuring figure that he usually was. I was now on my own. I was looking into the darkness, looking for lights. And when I saw the light, it was so brilliant to be able to see that lifeboat coming towards us and know that they were here to help Dad.
By the time Owain and Morgan sailed the yacht the 5 miles back to Porthincline, it was almost 7 o'clock in the morning and the sun was up.
I was really concerned about the deterioration that might be happening whilst I wasn't there. I was really worried that maybe we wouldn't be able to get back the Dad that we all knew.
The Coast Guard said he's at hospital.
Okay.
He's been handed over, and that's when he called me.
Okay. Good.
Then we rowed ashore to the lifeboat station, and all the crew were still there.
I just remember giving her a big hug. Both she and me were crying that morning at the lifeboat house. I think it was just a sense of relief for us both, really, that her dad had been taken safely to hospital in a matter of minutes, really, and hopefully that his life was saved that morning.
Without a doubt, they saved his life. They were absolutely fantastic, faultless. They were amazing.
Morgan rushed to Bangor Hospital, where her father had been stabilised after receiving such timely treatment and was starting his long journey back to recovery.
It certainly was one of those milestones in my lifeboat career. We couldn't have done it any better, I don't think. "300 miles southeast of Porthincline, on the southernmost part of the Kent coast, lies the bleakly beautiful headland of Dungeness.
Dungeness is a weird place. It's got a very interesting landscape.
It's actually a shingle peninsula, and it sticks out a few miles out into the English Channel. On a good day, which is probably weather-wise about 3 times a year, it's a lovely place. You wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world. Dungeness, the rest of the year, certainly through the winter, is bleak, cold and windy.
There's been a lifeboat here since 1826, making it only 2 years younger than the RNLI itself.
Around Dungeness, the biggest dangers are obviously the shipping lane. It's the busiest shipping lane in the world. It's effectively like the M25 at rush hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For smaller craft, it's obviously hazardous. Ships of the sizes that they are nowadays, they can't just slow down and alter course to avoid you. So certainly becoming broken down is a bit of an issue.
Mid-August, early morning. A southwesterly wind strengthening and rain showers blowing through.
So when the pager went off, I think it was about 7:30 in the morning, and I have to admit I was trying to have a lay-in after a busy week, so.
A pan has come in from a yacht in the English Channel, meaning the vessel is in trouble and needs immediate assistance.
The initial information that we had from Dover Coast Guard was an urgency message from what they believed to be a yacht 18 miles south of Dungeness Point.
18 to 20 miles is a long way out. It's sort of mid-channel, quite a bit further than a lot of the jobs that we do. And the weather was right on our nose.
The weather that day was forecasting 6 to 7. Force 6 to 7 is rough. When you get up to Force 8, that means gale, so gale force winds. So, yeah, we knew that that the conditions out there weren't going to be nice.
With a top speed of 25 knots, the Shannon would usually be able to cover 18 miles in around 40 minutes. But with the sea and weather against them, it takes them over an hour.
We were very surprised when we eventually got alongside just to see how small this was.
There was actually only one person on the yacht, just the chap on his own.
We could see he's flying a French flag. We went alongside, tried to communicate, but he couldn't speak a lot of English and we couldn't speak a lot of French.
Despite the language barrier and gusting winds snatching away their shouts to the yachtsman, the crew managed to learn a little more about his situation.
He'd left France the day before, so he was coming up to sort of 18 hours at sea plus on his own. And due to the conditions, he wasn't able to leave the tiller. He's having to keep his vessel into the weather.
The gale force winds have forced the French skipper to sail into the wind to stop his yacht from capsizing, which means he's now in the middle of the world's busiest shipping lane.
He was in quite a bit of danger. I'm not too sure he realised the danger he was in. He was very confused. He looked very tired. We could see he'd got a cut on his nose, so he'd obviously had some sort of accident during the night. It was at that time we realised that we were going to have to get somebody on board.
Transferring a crew member onto a casualty vessel is never easy, especially in lively seas.
It's not the ideal situation, trying to get 18-tonner lifeboat alongside a small 7-metre yacht in them conditions, but we had no option really.
It can be fraught with risk. Both vessels could roll into one another. We could damage the casualty vessel, the vessel could damage the lifeboat. Trying to get close enough to get one of our crewmen on, that's the hardest bit.
As well as the risk of damaging both vessels, there is also the increased chance of injury to the crew member tasked with stepping across from lifeboat to yacht.
Oh, you can certainly get crushed, yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a danger of, if you do get caught between the two, obviously you end up being a human fender, and yeah, it can end badly.
So I asked for a volunteer and looked at Jason.
No, I involuntarily volunteered to go aboard and have a go.
Stuart on the helm matches their speed with the yacht and moves closer, ready for Jason on the foredeck to attempt the transfer.
It was a little bit different for me this day because being your own son, being a father, you're supposed to protect your kids, and now all of a sudden there's me trying to get him alongside and getting him to jump across.
It is good when Dad's on the helm. Everything's always easier if your dad's there, isn't it?
This is where the team comes together and the trust in the team comes out.
In your head, you know when it's your time to jump, really. Sort of everything that's going to feel right does. And yeah, you just go for it, really.
When I got the shout to pull away and actually see him standing on the casualty, it was a big relief to know that he'd got there safely.
Considering the conditions, it was smooth. So yeah, it was good. Good bit of helming.
Jason carries out the usual casualty care checks on the yacht skipper to establish that there's no immediate medical emergency. Then he secures a line, and the lifeboat sets course to the nearest safe port of Eastbourne, and they settle in for a slow, steady tow.
During the tow, the conditions did worsen a little bit. It was a little bit rough, and the yacht just wasn't up to the job of being towed to Eastbourne, so it was then decided by the coxswain that the next best option would be to run with it on our beam and head to Rye Harbour.
It takes them 5 hours running with the weather to reach the shelter of Rye Harbour, by which time the gale has all but blown itself out.
We took this yacht right up into the river. It was unbelievable. It was like a different day altogether. The sun come out and it's almost as though we hadn't been through what we'd just been through. There was quite a crowd watching from the shore and they all started applauding.
Yeah, it's a great feeling knowing that we've done a good job and there's people there to appreciate it. It was great feeling.
So it was nice to sort of come back and sort of achieved it and not messed it up, really.
Well, I spoke to him after. I didn't praise him too much.
If I had messed it up, I would never hear the end of it, especially from Dad and my sister.
Well, at least he's got it done in time.
Since he suffered a stroke while sailing with his daughter Morgan near Porthdin-Cline, Pat is making great strides, but is still on the mend.
After the stroke, he's had a few seizures, so it's a constant worry. If I call him and he doesn't answer, is something happening or is he okay?
You have a cushion for there, don't you? We used to have.
He struggles with his memory and just really, his whole life has been changed.
The whole experience was quite a blot in terms of memory. That's changed my outlook completely.
Yeah, I think it helps to encourage us to spend more time together as well as a family. And we always have our Sunday roasts now.
Unfortunately, I've not been on the water since I had the accident. It's, I've lost the usage. I have to recognise that I'm not going to be driving the boat in future. One has to recognise one's age and limitations, and it's come home to roost. So it's a sad prospect, but she's a skipper now.
Good boy.
In Hoylake, Charlie and Bunter are being helped to get over their muddy ordeal by the same thing that got them into it in the first place.
I think we've been fine since the accident happened. With a puppy in the house, that keeps you quite busy.
He's very much part of the family, as you can tell. And we were very anxious indeed that he was going to get stuck.
We've got you there anyway, don't worry.
Yeah, we have been able to have a few jokes about it. Initially, it was hard because I think she was in shock for quite a few days afterwards. Because you start to think in your mind what might have happened and what if the emergency service had not been called.
I just think you just kind of have to learn from these things and not approach them with kind of a negative attitude. Yeah, I think just be aware of your surroundings. And if you're going on a walk on a beach that has the cliffs like that we did, you just have to be a bit more aware of what you're doing and where you're going and where you're travelling.
And in Dunmore East, once the Lily Bee was safely in harbour, the cause of her near-catastrophic loss of power was discovered.
From my understanding, I think it was just a major electrical fault that just turned the ship into a dead ship. I wouldn't have liked to be on board.
And for saving their ship, the owners of the Lily Bee sent a thank you to the 3 crews involved.
Nice few bottles of wine, nice biscuits, chocolates.
A lovely gesture. It's really nice to hear back from anybody that we've rescued. It's just nice.
As well as a hamper, the coxswains of the 3 boats also got another recognition.
The 3 coxswains have been awarded with the Bronze Medal of the institution, which is the 3rd highest award that you can get. So that's a huge honour.
The seamanship shown by all the coxswains that day was just incredible. Even thinking back on it now, I'm still amazed on how they can do it.
A good coordinated rescue and a good outcome, and that's what it's all about.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys.
You know whatever you do could cause potential further damage.
Our main mission was just to literally full speed and get there as quick as we can.